I am so excited to welcome you all here to the second annual Symposium for Innovation and Development in Life Sciences. And I'm sorry to say that I'm without my sidekick today. Mitch Simpler of JB&B is usually up here helping me open the meeting, and unfortunately, he is down with COVID after a 2-week cruise that he was on to Alaska. So I'm doing this solo this morning, and we apologize for a little bit of a delay here. We had some technical difficulties with the videos that we're going to show you, which obviously we want everyone to see. So thanks everyone for coming. We have an exciting day planned. Over 300 people registered today, so packed crowd, more than 45 speakers, and we especially want to thank the steering committee and the supporting members of the steering committee. If you're here, can you just stand up so everyone can recognize you, because they are responsible for planning and putting this meeting on, and really want to thank you. They've been meeting every week for the last 3 months so that we can have a successful meeting. We want to especially thank our sponsors, IPS, JBB, and Nancy J. Kelly and Associates, our breakfast and lunch sponsors, our Acumen Analytics, Meyer, and Allsteel. Institutional sponsors for the first time this year are B Labs, Baruch Bloomberg Institute, and Temple Health, and our lanyard sponsor is Saxony Development. So thank you very much for your support. We could not do this without you, and we also could not do it without our corporate members. Our corporate members basically provide the foundation for this organization and support all of our activities on a year-long basis. And so we thank you all, because I know there's many of you in the audience. In 2018, Mitch and I and some other firms formed a 501c3 organization called Builds Bio, which was launched to increase the visibility of life sciences in New York City, because at that point there was zero life science space built for companies. And we wanted to bring the life science industry and the real estate industry together so that people would be able to come to New York and get all the information they needed about growing and building companies. After 5 years of operations, we've created a very vibrant community of institutions, life science companies, finance, design, real estate professionals. We've hosted thousands of individuals at our events and educational programs, and we've written very important research reports in the market that we've been working in. Today, the New York City life science market is growing by leaps and bounds. There's over 10 subclusters formed and millions of square feet that has been built. In the last few years, we expanded our coverage to include Southern Connecticut, New Jersey, Westchester County in New York, the Hudson Valley County, and last year, Philadelphia. And we're so proud and pleased to be back this year with another full crowd. Our membership is nearly 2,000 strong, and we have thousands of visits to our website monthly from all over the world, people wanting to know more about the life science clusters in the areas that we're covering. And this year, we are working to establish a London chapter and create that connection across the pond. And the reason this is important is because the life science corridor stretches from Boston to North Carolina and beyond. It is the largest life science cluster in the world. And this is where most of the therapeutics, diagnostics, and new products are developed and grown. And so in order to kind of remain the unrivaled leader in this area, we really want to continue to make our community strong and to give people the opportunity to connect across markets and understand what's different, what people are working on. So we have a full day, jam-packed with important information about life sciences in Philadelphia. We'll be exploring the progress and potential that Philly has to fuel the growth of the life sciences sector and build the East Coast Life Sciences Corridor. We have 4 keynotes, 7 panel discussions, each moderated by a prominent Philadelphia leader. We start out with a keynote address giving an overview of how the institutions are driving science, entitled Fostering Transformational Discovery During a Time of Immense Need and Great Change. We then drill down on the innovation, starting with the science and exploring the recent and next generation of technologies that are emerging from Philly institutions. And then we move on to other technologies that are also helping to accelerate medical breakthroughs and revolutionize the life science industry. We have a panel featuring an accelerator, an incubator, venture capitalists, a real estate developer, and a company to show how all of the ecosystem is necessary to make life sciences succeed. And then we're going to hear about patients and their journey with some life-saving therapies, just to remind ourselves of why we all do what we do. And this panel will be followed by a number of accelerators and companies talking about how they are actually bringing to market and patients the next generation of therapies. And then after a break for lunch, we will have a pharma address. Some of you remember last year when one of you stood up in the audience and said, "Where are all the pharma companies?" Well, they're here this year. We actually have a pharma keynote. We have a whole panel of pharma executives talking about how they interface with biotech companies to create the next generation of innovation. And then several companies in the developer of the Navy Yard talking about why companies from outside Philly are coming here and why they chose this market to locate. And then our third and final keynote discussing how we can ensure economic opportunity in life sciences in Philly, and our last panel talking about social equity and how we ensure that as well. And then at the end of the day, we all get to relax and have a drink, so something to look forward to. But the most important thing is to relax and have fun today, so thank you again for being here. Now I'd love to introduce Dr. Jonathan Epstein. He is the Executive Vice Dean and Chief Scientific Officer of Penn Medicine. Dr. Epstein graduated from Harvard College in 1983, Harvard Medical School in 1988, and completed his residency and fellowship in medicine and cardiology at the Brigham and Women's Hospital, where he also completed an HHMI postdoctoral fellowship in genetics. Just a little of an overachiever. In 1996, he accepted a position as assistant professor of medicine in the Division of Cardiology at the University of Pennsylvania, and he is currently the William Wyckoff Smith Professor, Executive Vice Dean, and Chief Scientific Officer at the Perelman School of Medicine at the University of Pennsylvania. Oops.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. I'm delighted to join you this morning. I'm delighted to see the remarkable change in the ecosystem in the Philly region. I've been here, as you noted, several decades, and it's almost unrecognizable when you look across the landscape, either the skyline, the type of partnerships that are taking place between academia and the private sector, and the impact of what's coming out of Philadelphia, literally making discoveries that are helping to save people around the world. So one of the drivers of that change has been Penn Medicine, I believe, in partnership with Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, the Wistar Institute, all the other academic institutions in the region. That's the early phase of the pipeline that has led to many of the discoveries that has helped alter the ecosystem here. And I have a short video that brags about what's been happening at Penn Medicine. Maybe.
Penn Medicine, part of the renowned University of Pennsylvania, is one of the world's largest and most impactful biomedical research enterprises, with 21 new therapies approved by the US FDA since 2017. We've developed life-changing gene therapies for blindness and spinal muscular atrophy, and the world's first approved CAR T-cell therapy, the cancer breakthrough that harnesses the power of our body's own immune system to seek and destroy deadly cancer cells. We built the largest proton therapy center in the world, where our pioneers are pushing the boundaries of what's possible in non-invasive cancer treatment. And Penn scientists discovered life-saving mRNA technology, which led to the first COVID vaccines and is now used around the world to fight disease. Uniquely situated between American hubs for finance and influence, Penn Medicine has helped turn Philadelphia, America's founding city, into the epicenter of gene and cell therapy. A powerful convergence of groundbreaking research, exceptional talent, and vital funding, earning the nickname Silicon Valley. And with over 40,000 people providing care for millions and supporting academic activities in over 160 countries, Penn Medicine is making a global impact. Always discovering, always innovating, always leading.
Told you I'd be bragging a little bit. But I think it's worth knowing that of the probably 4 or 5 major discoveries in biomedicine in the last decade, 3 of them have been discovered here in Philadelphia, and the 4th, CRISPR, wasn't discovered here but was first used in patients here in Philadelphia. mRNA biology, gene therapy for curing disease, cell therapy for re-engineering your own immune system to attack cancers. These have been huge advances in medicine that sort of set the stage for what I believe will be a next decade of discoveries and new therapies. I don't know if it's something about the Quaker background of the region, but I think we don't brag about it quite enough. We in the region, I think, should be very, very proud of the impact that we've had in driving these new discoveries. How many people knew that the mRNA vaccines, that the underlying biology was discovered here in Philadelphia? Half, maybe. We could do better. We should all know about it. So these 21, or now it's up to 26 FDA approvals for new drugs that have come out of work at Penn Medicine and with our partners. This is sort of unheard of in academic medicine. When I was training in medicine in the Boston region, I thought that discoveries that I might make in the laboratory would be published. And then perhaps someday a drug company, a biopharma company, a pharmaceutical company would pick it up and turn it into a real medicine if I was lucky. It wasn't usually the academic institutions that were driving the process all the way to FDA approval. And what we've learned, and what I think we're one of the best at in the world, is that we need to partner with the private sector to efficiently do this. And that's been part of the secret that's driven the change in the ecosystem here in the region. More than a decade ago, images like this appeared in many journals, in the New York Times, and Nature, and discussions in Congress were all about why we weren't getting the impact of the money that we're putting into the NIH to actually drive new therapeutic changes. It seemed like we weren't getting that many new medicines. They called it inability to cross the valley of death. And we took this very seriously at Penn with strategic decisions about how we were going to do things differently. My predecessors set the stage for this. We created an institute called the Institute for Translational Medicine and Therapeutics, ITMAT. We created an Office of Clinical Research so that we would first bring new therapies to first-in-human trials. We revamped our tech transfer office. Some of the folks are here at the middle table, and called it the Penn Center for Innovation. And we began a whole series of other efforts to try to drive this translation of early discovery into therapies. Some of the strategies are outlined here. We focused on the need to translate and to partner with the private sector. We invested in first-in-human clinical trials, the regulatory oversight that's necessary for that, and we built structures that allow us to do that. For instance, good manufacturing process or GMP facilities that are expensive. I think we invested something like $50 million in the first GMP facility to manufacture those engineered immune cells that could fight cancer. We created a co-investment fund where Penn Medicine, the health system, invests and spin out companies to really to show our confidence in those companies and to help garner other investments into the region. I mentioned the tech transfer changes, and maybe most importantly, there was a total change in culture that I've seen over the last 2 decades in academia that understands that we need to partner in order to make our dreams come true, to make a discovery really have impact. We can't do it all within the ivory towers of academia. And that has been a change in the culture here in the city. And then as a basic scientist, I have to add that if you don't have new discoveries, you got nothing to translate. And so you have to have a broad and deep set of scientists who are working on discovering new things. I'm also grateful to the philanthropists who have driven much of this change. We've had some remarkable philanthropy in the region, some examples here from the Colton family, the Armelino family, and the Grays, who have funded, along with many others, some of the most innovative early science. I know this from my own career. Some of the most innovative things I've done have been done because of the freedom that a gift allows. The money you get from the NIH and other foundations and granting agencies tends to be incremental work. You have to describe it so carefully in order to garner the funding. It's usually not a sort of wild idea, and sometimes it's the wild ideas that work. And in fact, for each one of those major advances I mentioned, those investigators can point to a gift that gave them that freedom to make a critical step in that advance. Our clinical trials at Penn have gone up remarkably. You know, the strategic focus has mattered. So we now do over 3,000 clinical trials at any given time. Most of them, or many of them, first-in-human clinical trials. And this work in discovery has led to spinning out over 100 companies in the region, $3 billion of investment. Just in 2023 alone, $1.2 billion of new investment in the companies that are spinning out from the discoveries inside our walls, and some of the names of them are given here. You saw in the video a focus on immune health, these CAR T cells, or engineered T cells that can treat cancer. This was a transformational moment for us and for the cancer field. A young girl named Emily Whitehead was treated, one of the first pediatric patient treated. She had incurable leukemia. She'd had several bone marrow transplants that had failed. She was literally given last rites. And her family agreed to let her try this new therapy. And she survived. And she's actually now a freshman at Penn, which is incredible. There's a film that's been made about it. I hope you get to see it. It's called Of Medicine and Miracles. Kaufman is the director, an Emmy Award-winning director, and it tells the story. But it tells the story not only of the sort of laboratory discovery, but of the incredible physicians who saved her life after getting the first treatment, realized she was having a side effect, and knew how to treat it, all within a 24-hour period. And it speaks to the incredible history of medical training that is another thing we should be proud of in this city. We're one of the major trainers of doctors around the world. I mentioned the RNA vaccines. This is Drew Weissman and Katy Carrico, who first figured out how you could use RNA to deliver a message to the body. Your body is actually geared up to reject RNA because a lot of viruses and invading pathogens use RNA. So we treat it as foreign when we see RNA normally. But they figured out a trick to make it so it wasn't seen as foreign by the body's immune system, and in that way can be used like a medicine to deliver something to the body. And this will become a whole new platform in medicine. And we are hoping to drive that new platform discovery in a new institute, the RNA Institute, that's going to open at one university city with a ribbon cutting on Thursday this week. So it's a very exciting time this week in the Philly region. And I'll finish by just saying that this transformed culture, these incredible new ideas, this ecosystem has changed what I do in the laboratory. I'm a cardiologist, and some of you may know most types of heart failure is aggravated by scar in the heart, by fibrosis, a stiff heart that doesn't contract well. And a student in my lab wondered whether he could use some of the ideas that the cancer doctors were using to kill cancer in order to kill the scar in the heart. And we did that. It worked. We made a immune cell that could go attack the scar and reduce it. And we figured out by partnering with Drew Weissman that we could deliver the message to make that sort of immune cell using RNA by partnering with Drew Weissman. So these types of discoveries can be synergistic. And we spun out a company called Capstan Therapeutics that raised a fair bit of money to try to bring this to first-in-human clinical trials. So I've felt personally the change that has taken place in academia, in Philadelphia, and in the entire ecosystem. If you want to learn more, I want to plug an upcoming meeting at Penn, the ITMAT Symposium on October 9th to 10th, that will tell additional stories about these kinds of discoveries and their translation. With that, I'll close. I'll thank you for being here. This is a wall inside the lobby of one of our buildings where we've just put up the story of vaccine development in the Philadelphia region. It's a remarkable story. Come and look at it if you want one day in the Smilo building. But another thing we should be very proud of, the pneumococcus vaccine, the rotavirus vaccine, all the way up until the COVID vaccines. We've been a driver of vaccine development for many years in this region as well. So it's a proud day. Thanks for having me here.